You don't really know what day it is anymore. Day turns into night, night turns into day, and you live on a diet of cereal and cheese and dip. Hi guys, and welcome to the next episode of the Peach&Paige Podcast. I'm not even sure what I'm up to. 7, I think. 7th episode. My name's Jenna. I am the owner and designer of Peach&Paige. It is a crochet and knitwear label. I sell patterns and some other little bits and bobs, which I'll be talking about later. I live in the Adelaide Hills in South Australia, where I live with my husband and my 3 kids. As I said, I'm the owner of Peach&Paige, so you can find my website down here at peachandpaige.com, and I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, and I have an Etsy shop. I'm a little bit rusty today. I haven't filmed a podcast in, I think, 4 or 5 weeks now. As I said, it's the 29th of December now, and I'm sort of in that, or we all are, in that sort of space between Christmas and New Year's where you don't really know what day it is anymore. Day turns into night, night turns into day, and you live on a diet of cereal and cheese and dip. So yeah, 29th, it's a Saturday apparently, and yeah. So for those of you that are joining me for the first time, welcome. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different, just due to not having my usual content available, so I'm going to be doing a few different things today. But welcome and thank you for joining. If you do enjoy the podcast today, by all means feel free to check out some of my other episodes, and do like and subscribe down below. If you are joining me or coming back for a 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th time, whatever we're up to, thank you so much for coming back. I know it's been 5 weeks since I last filmed, and I do apologise. I was hoping to get one more podcast filmed before Christmas, but as all of you crafters would be fully aware, the lead up to Christmas is insane. We all well and truly overcommit with everything that we do, and so I was up till midnight every night knitting and sewing and doing all of that, and I just did not have time to do a podcast. It was not going to happen. So I do apologize, but I will let you know in a moment how everything went. So obviously, yeah, so today's going to be a little bit different. You might notice as well, sorry if I'm a bit all over the place, I'm frazzled, I'm tired. You may notice the lighting and everything's a little bit different today. So if you've watched before, you would know that I normally film my podcast on a Friday while my youngest is asleep. And I've always said, I don't know what I'm going to do when he stops having a nap, because I don't know when I'm going to film podcasts. Well, here we are, my friends. Here we are. Eli dropped his naps this week, and there's been a few days where we've even tried to put him down because he looked like he wanted a nap, but nah. So he hasn't had a daytime nap in a little over a week now. So the time has finally come. I knew it was going to happen sooner or later, but it has now arrived. So point of my story being that I am not able to film on a Friday afternoon. It is in fact Saturday, as I said before, and it is about, it's nearly 8:30 at night, because I couldn't film until he went to bed. So I wasn't sure how the lighting was going to work. I have a lamp that I use for my crafting. It's a circle lamp that's got a magnifying glass in the middle, and I've set that up sort of behind the tripod just to create some light, and I'm really happy with how it's actually turned out. This is very doable. So you will probably see my podcasts more like in this format from now on, in the evenings, because that's probably going to be the only time I'm going to be able to do it. I am in my lounge room, but luckily hubby is more than happy to go sit in the family lounge room and play Xbox in there, or he's tonight outside setting up a trampoline that we got the kids for Christmas. So that is the plan. And you'll notice I'm not wearing my glasses as well because it's a bit of extra glare. As I said before, this podcast is going to be a little bit different and it might be a little bit shorter as well. I don't have a lot to show you guys as far as knitting and crochet goes. Reason being, like I said, I've spent the last few weeks trying to get all my Christmas knits done, and obviously they've all now been gifted, so everything that I've finished I don't have here to show you because it's all with the person who I made it for, so I'm left with nothing. But I have been working on a new little project which I'll be releasing soon, so I'm going to have a chat about that. I'm also going to have a chat about my plans for 2020 and how I'm planning on organising myself and things like that, and sort of what my thought process is going to be as far as this little business goes and what I want to achieve in the next 12 months. And also if I have time, which I most likely will, I want to have a little bit of chat about how I take my photos. I had some feedback on Instagram this week from someone asking about how I do my product photography. So I was going to have a little bit of chat about that because the setup I use is in no way whatsoever professional, but it's something I've been perfecting over quite a bit of time, and I'm more than happy to share how I take my photos, and hopefully you can get something out of that and perhaps use those tips and tricks as well, because it really works for me. So that's my plans for today's podcast. I have got my beverage and my knit today, so I might do a bit of knitting during the podcast today because I don't have things that I have to show you. My drink of choice today is a non-alcoholic apple cider brewed here in the Adelaide Hills. I think I mentioned last podcast that I'm recently sober, so I've been sober it's been over a month now since I've drank. It's just something I've done for personal and health reasons, so I've been drinking a lot of teas and coffees and starting to discover some other options. And yes, in case you're wondering, alcoholic-free cider is basically just apple juice, but it's in a bottle, so it looks like you're drinking an adult drink. You're not just drinking apple juice. Okay. Oh, and you'll probably see next to me, so we still haven't taken our tree down. It's looking very sad. But this is our tree, which is next to me. It is looking quite brown now, but it's very big. It pretty much hits the roof. I'll see if I can tilt this back. Yeah, the star doesn't even go straight. It's quite tall. So I've mentioned previous podcasts, we got let me see if I can move the tripod back without making a mess of this. We got oh, it looks a bit funny, hold on, there we go. Oh, I think I'm a bit tilted now. Ta-da! That'll do. We got a real Christmas tree for the first time this year. We did not water it enough at the beginning. It's got a water reserve in it, but I don't think we realised how quickly the tree would absorb that water. So we didn't water it quite as much as we should have. That being said, we got it on the 9th of December, and it's really quite dry and brittle now, but all in all, it's done pretty well, and we're now 4 days past Christmas, so it made it to Christmas, and that's the most important thing. So it was really nice, and I don't think we'll be able to go back to having a non-real tree. So yes, so settle in, grab your drink, grab a whip, and enjoy the rest of the podcast. So normally, obviously, my normal format is to go through finished objects, and I just realised I left something over there that I should have grabbed. I'll grab that in a sec. So like I said, I was doing all my Christmas knits, so I was going to be making socks for everybody. So I think I had 5 pairs of socks that I had to do, and I'd finished, I can't even remember when I did what what I'd done with my last podcast. I think I'd finished like a pair and a half or something, because I was notoriously bad at just doing one sock at a time. So I had 3 socks that I'd started, and so I had my purple and grey socks. I had my self-striping socks. So I think my purple and grey socks, which I'll stick a picture up here as well. So that was made with Finch yarns, if I remember correctly, in a sock yarn, just this normal 75-25 blend. So I got those ones finished, and they haven't been gifted yet because I haven't caught up with my friend. So hopefully that will be very, very soon because I miss her dearly. So I got those ones finished. I did a self-striping sock, which I'll also put up here. So that was a Colourway by Colourway in the Colourway Ariel, and that was a self-striping, so I've gifted that one to my sister. And I also did a red and black pair, which I'll pop up here as well, which was, trying to think who did that colourway. I think that was Hedgehog Fibres, I believe. The colourway was Poison. I mentioned them all in my last podcast, so if you are interested in or want to double check any of those, I did mention them all in my last podcast. So I got those 3 finished, which was great, and it was around that time that I realised that there was no way I was going to get the rest of the socks done, so I needed a plan B. So I decided then, and I showed you this last podcast as well, I made little crochet cactuses, which again I'll stick up here. So the crochet cactuses, I ended up making one for everyone in my team at work. So that was 12, I think I had to make there. And then the recipients that were going to be receiving the socks that I didn't end up having time to do, I ended up doing a cactus for them as well. So they all got cactuses. So that all sort of came out in the wash, because the cactuses only take an hour or 2 to do, as opposed to socks, which take a day or 2 at least to do if you're doing them full on. And even then I still struggled to get it all done in time. So that's what happened with all my Christmas knits. So I got all them done. And then along with the knits, I made everyone some bags. So I think I showed you in another podcast a little while ago that I made some little bags. Actually, what I'll do, because I need to grab another bag, I'm going to pause the camera for a sec and grab the bags that I forgot to grab a moment ago. If you wonder why I'm looking down, it's because I'm knitting. I won't be a moment. Okay, I'm back. So you may remember these little bags that I was sewing. So they were the Weebrawbag. I'll put the thing down below. That I was making, mainly for my own projects. Great little bags with pockets, things like that. So I wanted to make some bags for Christmas presents as well, because once again they're really quick to whip up and make, and you can actually put your presents and your socks and stuff inside along with a candle or whatever else you want. But while the drawstring ones and the ones with the pockets are really good for knitters and sewers, most of the people that I was gifting for aren't. They don't knit and crochet and things like that. So I decided, I did a quick look online for a slightly different bag pattern, and I ended up finding this one, which is a nice little zipper pocket pouch. A nice size. This was the largest size. I think the pattern came in I think 5 different sizes. I'll make sure all the details are down below for the link. As a novice sewer, these were really fun and quick and easy to make. The instructions for putting your zipper in is really straightforward if you're someone that's scared of zippers. Really easy. Obviously I would recommend sewing with a zipper foot, which I did have, although you could do it without it, you just wouldn't get your fabric quite as close to the zipper. But yeah, really nice and easy to make, not too fiddly, not too difficult. And it's got a nice, I did the nice galaxy lining in this one. This one's my own, that I'm keeping for myself. So it's got all my stuff in it. But yeah, so I made this one for myself. And I made one for my mum and my sister. So I made one for my mum in leopard print because she loves leopard print. Made one for my sister in the Harry Potter fabric, which I showed you in a past episode. And I made one for both my mother-in-laws. Yeah, so that was sort of the second part of my Christmas gift. So I got all my Christmas stuff done in time. Christmas in general was lovely on a non-crochet and knitting and sewing related topic, I suppose. I hope all of you had a fantastic Christmas and stuff as well. Like I said, it's all just been a bit of a whirlwind the last few days. So yes, Merry Christmas. So yeah, that was my my Christmas knit. So that's as far as sewing goes. That's all I've got to show you. It's my bag. Pattern was really easy, so it's online, and I just printed it out on my printer and cut it out. The pouch itself, actually, so the pouch itself doesn't actually have the contrast strip at the bottom. I did that myself. So the pattern is just, this is it. That's the pattern. So, and obviously it's cut on the fold here. So what I did is I cut my lining out in the full size. And then for my main fabric, I actually I basically cut it in half and added seam allowance overlap. And so before I went ahead with the pattern, the first thing I did was sew my halves together to create my color block, two-tone, whatever you want to call it, fabric, and top stitched it. So it just made it a little bit more fancy and nice. So yeah, I did do that. So that's my sewing escapades lately. So the next thing I want to talk about. So you would have seen in my stories over the and on Instagram over the last day or two that as of the 2nd of January, which is next Thursday, I'm going to be releasing and selling stitch markers. So I've worked with polymer clay in the past, and my husband has worked with it as well. He used to make earrings and things like that, so we had heaps of polymer clay tools and things like that, struggling to find nice stitch markers. I know I showed you those ones that I found. It was either in the last podcast, the podcast before, these gorgeous little glittery ones from Mo and Me, which I really like. But other than that, I wasn't finding many that I liked, and I really like all the cutesy little stitch markers as opposed to sort of beaded ones. So I decided I'll make my own, and I thought, oh, I might as well sell some as well if people want them. So I'm spending the next week doing up a whole bunch of polymer clay stitch markers, and they'll be going up for sale on the 2nd of July. I'm only going to be selling them through my own store, so by Peach&Paige.com. I won't be selling them through Etsy. I was tossing up between the two. I can't sell them on both purely because of stock, because I don't want to do made to order, which means I can't have the same stock for sale on both my website and Etsy, because if people buy both at the same time, then I'm going to double up with stock. And because I only have a couple in each design, that wasn't going to work. And I thought if I just do it on Etsy, then I get slogged with all the fees, even though Etsy probably will give me more exposure. So I'm going to just try on my website for now. If I'm finding that I'm not getting a lot of traffic or sales, I might look at switching over to Etsy if that's what I want to do. But I'm going to try my own website for now, because obviously the whole point is of having a website is that it's a one-stop shop for everything. So it's got my patterns, it's got links to all my podcasts, and my pegs that I sell via Grace and Rose. Having the stitch markers on there as well sort of makes sense. So that's the plan. So I'll show you some of the ones that I've made so far. So the first ones are ones that you probably have seen on Instagram, Facebook, wherever you follow me. And so they are my little macaroons. Macaroons. I don't know how it's actually pronounced. So they'll come in a set of 5. Oh, I'm missing one. One fell off. So they'll come in, they'll come in sets of 5. So this particular design obviously has 5 different colours in sort of a pastel rainbow, I suppose. So you've got a pink, I hope the colours show up because obviously the light's quite artificial. A pink, a peach, a light green, a blue, and there's a lilac one there as well. So they are all on lever back earring hooks. So the reason I decided to do them as on lever back hooks, which look like this, and they just sort of pull open. It's a bit hard to see. They pull open like that. So the reason I did them like this is because these can be used, they're a nice big loop and they open, so they can be used as either progress keepers or stitch markers. They can be used as both. So rather than having to make 2 lots, so 1 lot of stitch markers and 1 lot of progress keepers, I could do both. So obviously they're plenty big enough that they can slide onto your needle, but they're also removable, so you can keep them as progress keepers. So that is the first design that I've got for sale. I don't know how many I'm going to have up for sale yet, but once they're sold, they're sold. So yes. And that's what I'm knitting at the moment, by the way. It's just a display panel because I needed something to take photos of them on, and I wanted something white, and I didn't have any plain white knit hanging around. So I'm just knitting a sample square at the moment for me to take photos of the stitch markers on. So that's the first design. So I've only got 3 sets of those. So if you want any of these, I highly suggest making sure that you set your calendars. I'll probably be doing the release at 7 p.m. on the 2nd of January. I'll make sure I put it in my Instagram stories and my Facebook stories exactly when it's going to be released and what time zone, so you can make sure that if there is some that you're after, you can jump in and grab them before they're gone. I don't want you to miss out. Although obviously if they sell well and I feel like continuing to do it, I'll be remaking them, remaking designs anyway. So the next one, I'll find one that's got I've had trouble finding the eye-ring hooks. I'm going to have to order some online, but in the meantime I've been getting them from Spotlight, which is our local craft store here, and they're all out. So I'm going to be heading into the city tomorrow to go to bead stores and see if I can get some more of these eye hooks. So the second design that I've done is a little coffee bean. So quite simple, not glossy. It's just a nice sort of rustic, more of a realistic, I suppose, kind of design. Let's see if that works a bit better. Oh, trying to get it to focus. I hope that focused, I can actually see. So yeah, they're coffee beans, so they'll come in a little set of 5. Oh, where's my bag? What else have I done? Some macaroons, the coffee beans. Okay. I'll show them last. Okay, these ones I haven't even put up anywhere yet. They still need to be polished a little bit and tidied up and have the eye rings put on, but they're little peaches. that's focusing. So I've got some little peaches. So they're pretty straightforward. They'll come in a set of 5. So yeah, they're quite cute. They seem appropriate for Peach and Paige, so I'll probably have a set of those for myself. And the last set I've got so far, I've got 2 varieties of. I've only got 1 set of the peaches at the moment, so there may only be 1 set of those available. I've got 3 sets of the coffee beans and 3 sets of the macaronis at the moment. So the next one I want to show you is my donuts. So these are Galaxy, I suppose, donuts. So you might have seen these on my story. They look amazing in real life. They're really metallic-y and sparkly. The camera may not do them justice, but they look amazing. So I've got a resin coating on them, and so they're little donuts. So they've got their icing around them. How cute are they? You can see the shine. They're super, super shiny. They're gorgeous. They're my favourite. I'm probably going to get a set of those for myself. And there's glitter and all sorts in there that you probably can't see. So I've only got 1 set of that one, the Dark Galaxy. I may, if I get time before the release, to do some more. And lastly, is another design of the Galaxy one, but in slightly different shades. So more of that white, the Galaxy with the pinks, the purple and the blue with a pearly white background. And again, super shiny resin Galaxy topping with a little donut base. So they're super cute. And so I've got 2 sets of those ones. So I'd love for you to comment down below which one is your favourite so far. Obviously I won't be doing another podcast before the release date on the 2nd of Jan. I will, however, be putting pretty much all of the stitch markers up as previews on Instagram stories and things and like that before then. So if you do follow me on Facebook or Instagram, you can keep an eye out if you do see any that you do really like, because like I said, best in, best dressed, and if they don't all sell well or I just get over it and decide not to do more, I might not do more. So jump in. And price wise as well, so like I said, they come in a set of 5. They're probably going to be about 25 each. The simpler designs maybe 20, and maybe a bit more for, you know, the more complex ones. I don't know, I haven't worked it out yet, the exact price point, but it's going to be something like that. And postage will be really cheap because they fit in a letter envelope. So you're not going to be paying $7. It'll be a couple bucks for postage too. And I'll probably sell them worldwide, so not just here in Australia. So if you are coming to me today from overseas, they will be available for you to purchase in a couple of days. Yes. So next thing, actually what I might do, so I'm going to cut here and insert another video in which I'm going to film tomorrow, which goes through how I take my photos, the setup that I've got. So I will let you watch that, and I will be back in a moment. Hi guys, so I'm going to show you today my setup for how I take my product photos, and also show you setting up a flat lay for some of my charms that I want to take a photo of. So please excuse the mess because my house is trashed and I haven't bothered cleaning. Basically the way that I take my photos, so I sort of have a a made up light box, I suppose you would call it. So this I've just made myself, and you can tell it's well used. My son's got to it at one point, coloured it in. It's been pulled apart and restuck together 1,000 times, but it still does the job, although I probably will start replacing it soon because it's getting pretty nasty. So this is a sheet, and I'll flick this around so you can see. So it's called Core Flute, and it's available here in Australia. It's available at Bunnings. I'm not sure if there's a similar product over in the States or elsewhere, but yeah, here in Australia you can just get it at Bunnings. So this is a 90 centimetre by a 1.2 metre sheet, and it's sort of that stuff that you see, I'll see if it focuses, that you'll sometimes see inside cardboard boxes, where it's sort of two sheets with this sort of mesh stuff in between. It's easy to bend. It comes in a flat sheet, and then basically all I've done is cut it and folded it, and then sort of stuck it together, so it sits up like a nice little light box. And so what that does is, and I mean this sheet costs like a couple bucks, I reckon. It creates an all-around white, so you don't just have your light source coming from one area. Obviously you could achieve the same thing with having a full setup with studio lights and all of that sort of stuff, but this does the job perfectly fine on a budget. Obviously the next thing you need to do is have it set up near a window. So in my case, this is my back sliding door. Is the easiest place for me to set up, and so I just butt it up against the door. If I leave this too late in the afternoon, the sun does come directly in through the door, and it doesn't work. So I do only have a small window of opportunity before about 2 o'clock in the afternoon that I need to take my photos. Otherwise I get direct light coming in and streaks of light across the photos, which doesn't look as good. So that's how I set up my light box. And then for my backgrounds, which obviously you can see that's quite filthy, I use these sheets. So here at Kmart you can buy a contact, and that's all this is. It's a contact, like book contact, and I got nice 6 sheets of white card from the chemist, and just stuck my contact on. So that's how I create my background. So obviously that's a faux wood. I've also got a dark wood that I'll use sometimes. So you've probably seen all of these in my Instagram at one stage or another. I've got a light pine type wood. And lastly, I've got a marble background. I also have a plain white background as well. My son's peering in. Hello. Hi. What are you doing? Can you go play? He's been kicked out so I can film. He's meant to be playing with his dad. Go on. Bye. Alright, we'll just ignore him. He's not impressed. Really, mate? Alright, sorry guys. So this is my setup, and obviously I have a plain white background as well, which I use for just straight product photos. So this is basically my setup. For taking photos, I just use my phone, which is what I'm filming on today. So I just have a Samsung S10, and I do have a proper DSLR, but I find, to be honest, I get just as good of photos off of my phone for what I need. So I'm quite happy just using my phone most of the time anyway. So it's just a case of standing up, so standing up above my photo, taking my shot, and then doing my cropping and editing. I do all my editing in a program called Picsart, which I'll put a link. I just get it through the App Store, and I use that for all of my editing, and I don't have any problems. So yeah, that is basically how I take my photos. Give you a bit of a better view. So what I'll do now is I'll set my phone up on a tripod, which like I said, I don't normally use, but just so I can film while I set up a flat lay, and then I'll take the photo, and then I can edit the photo and show you what the finished product looks like. So I'll be back in a minute. Yes, so that video that you've just seen was my my very professional setup that I've been using for years and years, and it's always treated me great, and just using my everyday props and things like that. So feel free to try that technique with your own photos, to take photos of your crochet work, and let me know how it goes. I'd love to see if you find that you're getting much more professional looking photos from doing it that way. So the last thing I want to talk about, as I said, a fairly short podcast today, is just a bit of my plans for the next 12 months, because obviously I won't be back until the new year, so excuse me. So my plan for the next 12 months, once I do my what side am I on? Once I do my release for my stitch markers on the 2nd, I want to get back into a more regular routine, and so what I've decided to do in the new year is have a day set for everything. So I only work Mondays, Tuesdays and Wednesdays in my 9-to-5 job, if you will. So what I'm planning on doing, as well as obviously still doing my podcast, which I want to get back into doing fortnightly, and aside from this sort of ad hoc podcast today, normally I have a lot more to show you in regards to patterns that I'm working on and things like that. Obviously this one's a little bit different because of the time of the year and things that have been going on. So my plan, like I said, is to be doing my fortnightly podcast and have something different every day. And I've got myself a proper diary, and a nice diary that's got like full day to a page, and I'm going to use it for all Peach and Paige related stuff and probably anything else I got going on, because quite frankly my life is hectic and I struggle to keep on top of it, and I just can't use the phone calendars. I don't know if this applies to anybody else, but I find when it comes to writing lists and things like that, I need to put pen to paper. I come from a technology generation. Everything I do is technology based, but when it comes to writing lists or calendars, planners, things like that, pen to paper all the way. But the problem is it ends up getting stashed in a drawer and I don't end up using it. So I'm really determined to use it this year. But that is my plan. So for each day of the week, because a big problem that I have is that I jump from project to project, and so what ends up happening is that I have all these things on the go and nothing gets finished. So I have 2 rules this year. One rule is that I need to stick with the planner and only do what I'm allocated to do that day, and 2 is I can only work on one pattern at a time. I know that I'm probably by the next podcast going to have already broken that rule about 5 times, but I'm going to give it a red hot go. Basically Monday nights after work will be my stitch marker night. So that's when I will be, and this is obviously assuming that I continue making the stitch markers as an addition to my business. So Mondays will be stitch marker night. So no knitting, no crocheting, just working on getting a bunch of stitch markers out. They are quite time consuming. I was quite surprised at how long they took, although I do think I'll get quicker and better at them, and obviously some designs are quicker than others. Tuesdays is my Teen Titan blanket. So I showed this off, I think, last podcast. Blanket that's been sitting there that I don't get around to finishing, I don't get around to doing, and I think I mentioned last podcast that what I'm going to do is set aside one day a week that I have to work on it. So that's going to be Tuesdays. Tuesdays I generally work in the office in town, which means that I don't get home till late. It's my busiest and most hectic day of the week. So Tuesdays, not having to switch on my creative mind for either pattern making or stitch markers. I figured Tuesday would probably be the best night for once the kids are in bed, sit down on the couch and just work on the blanket. You know, nice and easy. Wednesdays will be pattern writing night, so that is the night where I can only work on a pattern. It has to be one pattern. I haven't decided what pattern I'm going to start with. I'm probably going to do my braided bonnet because I need to film some tutorial videos for that. So I'll talk about that in a sec. So my braided bonnet, which I'll put a picture up here, I think I'm going to do that as my first one. And once I start it, that's it. So pattern making night, that is the only thing I can work on. So that's Wednesdays. Thursdays, I don't work. So I've put 2 things in. So I can work on stitch markers and also a personal project. So personal project would be, for instance, my t-shirt romantic, which I haven't finished yet. I just haven't had a chance to work on it. So Thursdays we'll be working on like sweaters that I'm working on for myself, things that I'm making for myself. So usually more long-term knit projects. So t-shirts, cardigans, jumpers, whatever. So stitch markers and a personal project. Fridays, once again, don't work. Will just be all pattern designing stuff because I can only take photos of items for the pictures in my tutorial for my patterns during the day where there's good daytime natural light. I won't be able to do that on the Wednesday evening, so Fridays will be my day to take photos, do videos, whatever I need to do for the pattern that I'm working on at that time. And Saturday and Sunday I've just done free choice because obviously there are Saturdays and Sundays that sometimes we're really busy, we're doing shopping, I might not get to get anything done. So it's just free choice for whatever I feel like working on. Whether I may come up with a new pattern that I just need to try out, or a new stitch marker design that I've come up with and I don't want to wait till the next stitch marker day, I don't know. But Saturdays and Sundays are my days. I may decide not to do anything. Might just be too busy and have a day off. Which is very unlikely because I really never have a day off. But yeah, that's my plan at this stage. So I'll keep you guys updated as I go, whether I manage to stick to said plan or not. I hope so. Everyone is full of promise and hope at the beginning of a new year. We just see how long that lasts for. What was I going to talk about? Oh, I mentioned before with that braided bonnet. So with that braided bonnet, because the braid is quite complex, I've tried to do a photo tutorial. It's really tricky. One of the particular steps in it, it's really hard to photograph because the angle you've got to do it on, it's near impossible to get a good photo of. So I've decided I'm going to do a video tutorial for that, and it'll be on YouTube, but it will be an unlisted video. So what that means is that you won't be able to find the video by searching or anything like that. and the video won't be of the whole project anyway, it's just going to be for the braided cable element. But to be able to get that tutorial for the braid, you will have to have purchased the pattern, and in the pattern there will be a URL link that you can type into your computer, and it will then take you to that YouTube video. So the video is there, but it's the only way you can get to it is via the link. You can't just Google it or search for it. It's not going to be you won't be able to see it on my YouTube channel, anything like that. So that's how I've decided to do it. That way I'm still not making it so that people are able to replicate my pattern for free via using the video tutorial, but it's still going to be an easy video for people to be able to access. I've got a really tickly throat. So sorry. Ugh. Oh. Probably like cat hair or something in there. Oh, it's just that tickle every time you breathe and you're like it's really annoying. Make my eyes water. So yes, that's my plan for the braided cables. That'll be interesting. I've never done a video tutorial before, so that'll be new territory for me. It'll be interesting to see. I don't know how I'm going to set it up yet. I'm going to have to play around with this tripod, I suppose, and see if I can set it up over the table so it sort of sits, hovers in front of me and I can work under it. I don't know. We'll see how we go. It may be a new thing. I may do some other tutorials of other little easy projects. I think I've done like crochet bows and things like that. That I'd be more than happy to do a free video on YouTube for, so that might be something else I look at doing in the new year as well. I think that's about it. Plus this cough's gonna bug me anyway. So once again, a bit of a short, sharp and sweet video today, although I think I've still hit at least 45 minutes, which is pretty good. I've probably repeated myself quite a bit, so I do apologise if I have. I will, once again, if you enjoyed the video today, please do hit like and subscribe. I certainly do hope that I'll be back again in 2 weeks. So yeah, it's been stinking hot here. Oh, you may have seen I've got my Christmas nails. I always show you my nails. So this was the set that I got done for Christmas, which is super, super festive. Yeah, so they've lasted really well. So I've only had them a couple of weeks now. What else? I think that's about it. What's going on with me? So thank you for joining me today. And it's been a little bit all over the place. Next fortnight we'll hopefully be back to my usual structured format of things going on. As usual, if there is anything in particular that you want me to go through, like I have with my photography stuff today, by all means feel free to send me a message or comment below, and I'd be more than happy to fit that into a podcast by all means. And yeah, until next time.